So now, guys, we are done with this file handling, right? So now we'll be doing the practicals on exception handling, exception or error handling. So basically, whenever we write some kind of program or something else, we get some kind of errors, right? So what we do, we see that error and we do some kind of some repair to it, and we'll make it executed. Okay, but you should also have some kind of knowledge on error handling, how to handle the errors. Okay, so whenever you're talking about errors, there are three types of errors. One is compile error, the other is logical error, and the other is runtime error. Compile error will come whenever a programmer is writing a program, and if he misses any syntax or something else, at that time your compile error will come into the picture. For example, you are writing a program, you are a developer or a programmer, you have written a Python program, so you have written some kind of syntax error. While seeing it, you will understand, okay, this is a syntax error, and then you'll rectify it. Okay, that is one type of error. The other type of error is like logical error, and this logical error will come into, it will come whenever your logic is not working fine. For example, your program has no syntax error, your program is compiled, but whenever you give some inputs after execution, it gives a wrong input. For example, you take an addition program. So you wrote a plus b. So you gave 2 plus 3. What would be 2 plus 3? It should be 5. But the interpreter gives 7 as the answer. That means there is some kind of logic which is missing in the code. It's just an example. It's not like a plus b will be a logical error. I'm just giving you an example of it. So you got it as 7. So is that right? No. That means there is some fishy in your logic. So these are called as logical errors. And then we have runtime errors. So these runtime errors will come into picture when users does some kind of errors. For example, let's take user input only. Okay, so you have created a addition program and you have given to a student. Okay, so that student doesn't know anything, but he knows he has to enter some values. Okay, so what he did, he entered 10, a as 10 and b as p. Can you add a plus p? You cannot. A is integer, which is 10, and b is string, which is p. You cannot add. The user will not get the output, and this user will be like thinking, why I'm not getting output, right? So at that particular time, you have to handle the errors for users. Another example is like you have created a same web application for students registration. So in that student registration, what happened was you have created a space where student has to upload a PDF document. By miss, he has uploaded a text document, and your program is abruptly struck over there because he is not putting a PDF document. And as soon as this user is selecting submit, it is not processing and it is not giving any kind of pop-up to him as well. He's not understanding what's happening. That in the sense, your whatever the application that you have built has no proper error handling techniques. So you have to make user understand what is the error that he is making. If you don't make him understand, if you don't handle it, your program abruptly stops the execution. So let's take an example. So I have given a is equal to 10, b is equal to 2, c is equal to a by b, print a, print c, and then I also gave print by. Okay, so I'll just execute this. What happened? Everything is fine. So a is 10, b is 10, you can divide it. But what if I give b is equal to 0? It says some error and this by is not printing. It's abruptly getting stuck at print at C itself. It is not allowing the other two lines from execution. So for this scenarios, at this scenarios, you have to give exception handling or error handling. So let's take another example. I'll take a user input. Okay. So A is equal to int input of enter a value. Okay. B is equal to int of input enter B value. Okay. So now what you do, C is equal to A by B. Then you write print C and print B by E by. Okay. So now fine. You'll execute it 10, 2, everything is fine. Now I'll just give A as 10, B as 0. So again, you are getting an error. Where are you getting in this error? At C is equal to A by B. So whenever you are handling the errors, you have to look at the statements which is having the probability to produce an error. So here, the error could be there in C is equal to A plus B. So this is called as critical statement. So for exception handlings, you will have some kind of blocks like try, except, and finally. Okay, so these critical statements are to be put in try block. So now I'll put this try block and I put that C in the try block. Okay, so whenever the program is executing this try block, if suppose any error occurs, it has to handle it. So you can handle with the exceptions. So I write exception as E and print E. Okay. Now I execute this. I give 10. I give 0. The whole program worked fine. But if I give 10 and 0, what happened? It gave division by 0. So if you consider this exception as E, it will give what is the kind of error that is there. All right. So this is division by error. So what I write? Okay, fine. I'll just remove this and put print error. You cannot divide any number with 0. Now I'll execute this. If I give 10, enter. If I give 0, it is saying you cannot divide any number with 0. Why I am replacing it with this is, for suppose division by 0 is showcased on a pop-up window. For example, can a person who do not understand this programming will understand that statement? No. So that's the reason what I'm telling, you cannot divide anything with 0. Okay, that's fine. Now in files, what I told, you have to close a file or you have to open a file, and for sure you have to close a file. Okay, so now in try block, let's suppose that is a critical statement. Instead of I opening a file, I'll just write a print statement. Print file is open. Okay, now after this print of C, I am writing print file is closed. Okay, so now I'll execute this. I give 10, I give 0. Now what happened? So now it entered the try block. It said file is open. Okay, and it executed this, but it got an error. So directly it jumped to except block. This closing is not done. If you open a file, for sure you have to close it, right? So if there is any error, this is not getting executed. That means your file is not getting closed. So for suppose if you get any error, then it has to be put in except block. Yes. So now what I do, I put it in except block, right? Now what I say, print. Now I'm executing this. Now I give Z10, 0. You cannot divide with Z. Sorry, print, print. Now I execute this. I give 10. I give 0. It says, okay, you cannot divide it by 0 and file is closed. File is opened as well as file is closed. This is fine. Now, I give 10. I give 2. Now, is this except block functioning? No, because there is no error here. So, it is not coming to except block. So, do we supposed to write this functionality in try and except? Not necessary. We have an other thing called finally. So, you can directly write finally. In finally, you can close the file. So this finally block will be executed whether there is error or whether there is no error. So there will be some kind of situations where a particular block should be executed for sure, even though there are some kind of errors or not. Such kind of blocks can be put in finally. So now I'll execute it. I give 10, I give 2, then no error. So file is opened as well as file is closed. In the same way, I give an error now, 0. Now what happened? Now also file is closed. So did you understand what finally, except and try is? Now this is how you will be handling the errors. Okay, now what I do is I just insert it. So here this is int, right? Instead of integer, I give a string or a float. I'll give a float. Okay, 10.5. Now enter. So what is it giving? Value error. Where is it giving? In the first statement. So this statement is having probability to give a error. So value error is nothing but giving a different type of data. For example, if you give integer and instead of an integer you're giving string or a float, then this value error will occur. So you have to find this value error as well. Now what I do, I'll put these two functionalities. We can also have some kind of errors, right? So now what I do, I put these two over here. Okay. Now enter. So what I gave 10.5. As soon as I give 10.5, these are all not getting executed. And it says you cannot divide any number with 0. But what? User has not given any 0. How can you handle this? Then there is another option where you have to write what is the type of error it is having. First, suppose it is 0 division error, except 0 division error. And you can also have except value, 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 ERROR, value error. Then print, you cannot give float or integer as A or B. Now we'll execute it. What happens? Now if I give 10, if I give 0, sorry, 0 division error, this is a spelling mistake. So it is 0 division error. Now I'll execute this. So 10, 0. Now what happened? It says you cannot divide anything with 0 because it is 0 division error. Now I give 10.5. It directly saying you cannot give a float or an integer. But did you observe, whenever there is any exception is occurring, it is not trying the other sentences as well, right? So that's the reason for each and every critical element, you can write a separate try blocks. So now what I do, I write a try block for control C, for a zero division error and for value error. Okay, so I'm just removing all this. Here I am trying zero division error and this is value error. I'll just put it upwards and I remove this. Okay, so now what happened? This is for try block, this is for value error, this is for zero division error. Did you understand? This is for value error, this is for zero division error, and you'll have n number of errors like that. Now I'm just executing this. If I enter 10 or 0, it gives you cannot divide by 0. Enter 10.5, or I'll tell 10 and I give 10.5. It says you cannot give float or a integer as A or B. Right? Did you understand? So you can create n number of tries and excepts. Now we will deal with another exception, which is type error. So when will this type error come into picture? Now I'll again take user input. A is equal to int input of enter A. B is equal to int input of enter B. C is equal to, sorry, I'm not writing integer over here. C is equal to A plus B. Okay. C is equal to A plus B. So can you add an integer and a string? You cannot, right? So let's see what is the error that is coming now. Print C. Enter 10, 20. 10 is A, 20 as B. So what is saying? Type error. So the data type that you have given is wrong. So you cannot add these two. So now this becomes a critical statement. C is equal to A plus B. So that should be in the try block. Try C is equal to A plus B. Then except, what is this error? Type error, right? Except type error, print cannot add string or integer. Understood? Now execute this. Now 10 P cannot add integer. So this is another type of error, type error. Now we have index error as well. What is index error? We'll see. List, I'll take a list. List is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's suppose. Now what I say, print list list of 5. We'll see what is the error that we are getting. So what it says, print list of 5, list index out of range. Why? How many indexes we have? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Where is this fifth one coming from? So as your list is not having a fifth element, it is saying the index error. Now at this point, this will be the critical statement. So you have to put that in try. Except, what is this? Index error, index error, print, sorry, yeah, index error, index out of range. Enter. Now you will get index out of range. So this is what all about here, exception handling. Done, guys? That's really good. Fine. So now I'll